Hello nerds! Today we're going to be talking about block damage. So right now when we shoot, you notice that blocks really don't take much damage. If you have WeaponMechanicsCosmetics installed, you'll notice the particles spraying out of the block. But outside of that, not even glass is broken. And that's terrible, so let's fix that. So if we go to this file, I'll include a link in the description, but it's also on the wiki. We're just going to copy the entire contents of this file and paste it into this website here, onlinepython.com. We're just going to run the file. I'll explain this file in a later section of the video, but it's pretty complicated and mostly oriented towards programmers. So if you're not a programmer, what you're going to do is just copy this, and you're going to go into Visual Studio Code or whatever you're using to edit your weapons, and we're going to add into the cosmetics section, if you're using WeaponMechanicsCosmetics, your entire paste. Delete this extra information. We don't need it. It'll break everything. We're going to scroll up just to make sure everything is looking all right. All right, that looks fine. While we're here, let's do the same thing for explosions for anyone not using WeaponMechanicsCosmetics. So delete the extra few lines, scroll up, make sure everything's set in the right location. All right, block damage, explosion. Cool. All right, save both of those. And let's go back into game, reload the plugin. All right, so now when we shoot, of course I only had one bullet in the gun, but of course now you see cracked blocks. And depending on the strength of the block, the less damage it takes. So right now, glass is broken. All right, so now let's test the RPG. You can see similar stuff. All the glass was destroyed. A lot of the blocks are cracked. Of course, we can now shoot at trees, offend the Lorax, you know, the usual stuff. So this is pretty cool. But right now, we have a massive issue. There's an elephant in the room. Well, other than the fact that only these blocks are cracked and they should have been broken by the RPG. But if we go back into the config, it's like 1,000 lines. Like we have to scroll through this entire thing. And you know what? Maybe you're smart. Maybe you go, okay, well, I can just collapse this section and it's all better. Well, yes, but you have to do that every single time you edit your file. And what if you wanted to change one block damage? Well, then you have to change everything in every single file, and that's tedious. So what we're going to do instead is delete this section completely and replace it with block damage, and we'll save this for later. We'll fill it in later. So we save that. I'm going to go into RPG, take away the block damage, and just add in a quick temporary fill me. All right, so we wanted to paste that into both config sections, but we can't do that. That's not how files work. So what we're going to do instead is create a new folder. We're going to call it anything we want to. We'll call it block damage for organization's sake. And I'm going to create a new YAML file in here. Block damage, why not? Keep things consistent. This is fine. All right, so now when we edit this, we have an empty YAML file. Let's come up with some unique name. So how about my awesome block damage, because it is awesome. And we'll paste. Delete this. Back to the top. All right, big issue here. There's 4 spaces. There should only be 2 spaces. Oh no, whatever will we do? Ah, well, I've prepared for this. So if we scroll up to the top of this file, we can change the number of spaces from 4 to 2 and run the code. Copy the result. Go back in here and paste. Again, delete the bottom stuff. All right, so now when we scroll to the top, we see we have the correct spacing. We can save this file. We're not done yet though. We're gonna copy this unique name and paste it into each weapon. So block damage, my awesome block damage dot block damage. All right, so this is important. We have to fill out this entire section, and everything is case sensitive. So you see my awesome block damage and block damage perfectly correlates to my awesome block damage and block damage. If you mess up any of that, there will be errors in console. It's very, very picky. All right, so we save this. We'll do the same thing for the RPG. So we go back to the block damage. We go my awesome block damage dot block damage. Save that and reload the plugin. Perfectly spelling it right. All right, so now we should notice that even without putting the list in the AK-47, it's in a completely separate file, we can still use the block damage. And just so you know I'm not lying to you, RPG7 is also working perfectly. All right. Well, if you're not a programmer, then this might be it for you. But if you're like me, then you like a lot of damage, and this is not satisfactory. So if we go into the Python file, we have a few options we can change. So I'm just going to go through this entire file so I can explain what everything is doing. So blocks is just a list of every single block in Minecraft. If we scroll over to the right, you'll see it's a pretty long list. Spaces, of course, we talked about that. I'll skip over this stuff. It's pretty obvious. So for every block, we need to get the name of the block, the blast resistance, which is how resistant the block is to explosions. This wiki link here to the Minecraft fandom shows each block's blast resistance. Some of them are higher, some of them are lower. And also the block's hardness, which is how long it takes to break the block. If you're mining it with like a pickaxe. Again, wiki link. All right, so we use a formula to calculate how many shots it should take to break the blocks. Now, I included a few example formulas. You can uncomment them out and see if they work for you. But personally, I think the default one works fine. If you want to make blocks take a long time to get destroyed, you can multiply the end result by 2, for example. So shots to break, multiply equals 2. And that'll make things take twice as long to break. And of course, we have to have this line because it can't take 0 shots to break a block. That'll cause issues in configurations, and we don't want to deal with that. This one's a little bit more important. Right now, we have it set so only glass blocks can break. Everything else cracks unless it takes more than 15 shots to break, in which case we cancel all damage. I think instead we'll have it so anything that takes 15 shots to break will crack. Otherwise, we can break it. This sounds pretty good. So now we can run this, copy the result, go back into our files, and delete what we had previously. We'll paste. Of course, delete the bottom part. Save and reload. All right, so now when we shoot things, we notice that pretty much all blocks are broken. And if we keep spamming, we see that stone blocks take a while to break, but dirt blocks are easier to break. It's kind of a satisfying effect. And of course, then I can pull out my AK-47 and do a little bit more damage. All right, so I believe that is all we have to talk about. This list is generated for 1.19, specifically 1.19.2, but it doesn't matter. Any 1.19 version is fine. When 1.20, that's 1.12. When 1.20 comes out, then I'll have to remake this list. So if I haven't already done that and you're trying to make a server for 1.20, just send me a message on the Discord and I'll get that fixed for you. If you want an older version, so any version below 1.19, so 1.18 or below, 1.12, 1.9, then you'll have to pay me to generate the list. It's kind of tedious to make the list, so cut me some slack. I believe that's everything. Good luck.